Coco Gauff replaces coach with biomechanics specialist ahead of US Open. Tennis superstar Coco Gauff has parted ways with her coach just days before this year's US Open, according to reports, including ESPN, on Wednesday. The two-time Grand Slam singles winner has not publicly announced the decision, but reports suggest coach Matthew Daly will no longer be part of her team. "Only have good things to say about Coco, enjoyed working with her," Daly told Bounces, adding that the decision was made recently. Reports state that Gauff will continue working with her longtime coach Jean-Christophe Forel, while also bringing in biomechanics specialist Gavin McMillan. The World No. 3 was seen practicing with her new coaching team in New York this week, according to Reuters, with particular attention being paid to her serve and forehand. McMillan, who works across various sports, has been widely credited for helping current World No. 1 Aryna Sabalenka improve her serve. Serving has been a problem area for Gauff in recent months, with the American hitting 42 double faults in just 3 matches at the Canadian Open earlier this month, according to Reuters. Under the partnership of Daly and Forel, though, Gauff produced some of her best tennis, winning both last year's WTA Finals and this year's French Open. But the 21-year-old has struggled with form in recent months, crashing out of Wimbledon in the first round after losing to the then World No. 42 Diana Yastremska. Gauff will look to rectify her dip in performance at this year's US Open, where she won the 2023 edition and will be one of the biggest stars in the draw. The singles tournament is set to start on Sunday, with the draw taking place later Thursday. Coco Gauff stood at the edge of the practice court, New York's humid August air pressing down on her like a weight she refused to acknowledge. The US Open was days away, and the buzz surrounding her was deafening. Yet, instead of clinging to a familiar coaching voice, she had chosen a new direction, one that raised eyebrows across the tennis world. She had replaced her traditional coach with a biomechanics specialist. For many, it was a bold move. For Coco, it was survival. The silent whisper of mechanics. Gauff had long relied on her speed, her agility, her never-say-die attitude. But whispers had begun to swirl. Her forehand breaks down under pressure, her serve isn't as reliable, her footwork leaks energy in the 5th gear. Those whispers grew louder with every tough loss. And Coco, though just 21, had heard enough of them to recognize the truth in their sting. Enter Dr. Elias Verhoeven, a biomechanics expert known more for working with Olympic sprinters and baseball pitchers than tennis players. He carried no tennis resume, no famous protégés. What he had was a pair of sharp eyes that didn't see strokes, but levers, torque, energy transfer, and margins of error invisible to most. "Your body," he told her in their first session, "is an engine of equations. If we solve the math, the ball obeys." Breaking down the old. The first week was chaos. Coco's practice looked less like tennis and more like a science experiment. Sensors taped to her joints tracked every swing. High-speed cameras froze her movements at 1,000 frames per second. Verhoeven made her hit the same forehand 200 times, each strike followed by a pause, a correction, an adjustment as minor as shifting her shoulder 2 degrees or planting her left foot half an inch further forward. Her team worried. The US Open was looming, and Coco was dismantling her foundation rather than sharpening it. But Coco was unshaken. "Sometimes," she told her parents after one grueling session, "you have to break the house before you build the mansion." The transformation. By mid-August, the difference was visible. Her serve, once inconsistent, now snapped like a whip, each motion flowing from her hip to her wrist in a chain of seamless energy. Her forehand, prone to flattening out under pressure, now carried a controlled topspin, forged not by brute force but by precise kinetic alignment. Even her footwork looked sharper, shorter steps, less wasted motion, every pivot efficient as clockwork. Verhoeven explained it in clinical terms. "She's reducing mechanical leakage," he said to a reporter who had somehow found his way to the closed training session. But to Coco it felt simpler. "I'm no longer fighting my body. I'm letting it work for me." The tennis world reacts. The announcement of her coaching switch sent shockwaves through the tennis world. Commentators questioned her decision. Former pros clucked their tongues. Biomechanics? That's not coaching. Matches aren't won by numbers, they're won by instincts. But others saw something daring, even revolutionary. Aryna Sabalenka's former biomechanical consultant voiced his support on social media. "If Gauff pulls this off, she'll change how tennis is trained at the elite level." The press framed it as risky theater. Was Coco Gauff reinventing herself into a champion, or sabotaging her US Open run with a science project gone wrong? The arena of proof. Opening night at Flushing Meadows arrived with its electric buzz. The crowd filled Arthur Ashe Stadium, expectant, curious, restless. Coco walked onto the court wearing her trademark poise, but beneath it was the weight of her choice. This was no longer just a match, It was a referendum on her gamble. Her first serve cracked at 119 miles per hour, painting the corner with effortless precision. A murmur ran through the stadium. By the third game, her forehand no longer leaked errors. It bent her opponent back with heavy topspin and depth. It wasn't perfection. The nerves, the occasional overcalculation, still peeked through. But when she moved, there was economy. When she struck, there was clarity. She wasn't just reacting, she was executing a blueprint written in her bones. The human side of science. What few noticed was how the cold logic of biomechanics had unexpectedly freed Coco's spirit. With the mechanics refined, she no longer had to overthink her flaws mid-match. Instead, she could focus on strategy, on creativity, on her natural fire. "You gave me back my instincts," she told Verhoeven after her first victory. "By making my body efficient, you let my mind be free." The scientist, usually stoic, cracked the faintest smile. That, he said, was the point all along. Beyond the experiment. As the US Open unfolded, Coco advanced deeper, her form sparking debates in every press room. Was this success proof that tennis needed to embrace biomechanics more fully? Or was it simply Coco's unique resilience shining through? The truth lay somewhere between. Numbers and science had sharpened her game, but it was still her spirit, her refusal to settle, that had made the leap possible. In interviews, she dismissed the notion of abandoning coaches altogether. "Tennis is still human," she said. "I still need people who understand emotions, strategy, pressure. But I also know I can't ignore the science of how my body moves. I've learned that both matter." The bigger picture. Win or lose, Coco Gauff's decision before the US Open marked a shift. She had reminded the tennis world that progress doesn't come from comfort zones. Whether biomechanics would become the next revolution in coaching or fade as a footnote didn't matter as much as the fact that Coco had dared to test the boundary. For a sport that balances tradition with innovation, her choice was both a question and a challenge. Are we brave enough to reimagine what greatness looks like?